call that callback function, which has, just like the HTTP, the actual HTTP, what would you call it? Library, module, whatever you want to call it. It will have a request, a response, and although we didn't get into it, it will have a next. We won't get into that for a while, but essentially you can string a series of functions together if you want to. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Probably more information than you wanted.
No, it works. I mean, I guess I was just curious to see if it impacted, say, on like a large scale, like data-intensive application.
I mean, yes. Short answer, yes, it does have an impact, but it's so small that it's not going to be a significant impact. If Express is your bottleneck,
Yeah.
if you are at that point of web scale, most likely you're going to ditch Node and rewrite this all in C anyway. So, and I should say, like, you can run millions and millions of requests using a single node instance, like millions of requests an hour, like pretty easily.
We will be able to test this ourselves. We're going to get into performance a little later, but there's an open source app called Siege that we can use to throw a lot of traffic at our servers on our own machines. Yeah.
So,
Oh, it looks like I need to set a GitHub API token. Brew install Siege. But we'll get to that when we talk about performance. For now, I've created a directory called Express Demo. I did npm init, and I did npm install express --save, so it ends up in my package JSON.
so once again, Express, we are going to actually save and not save dev, because Express is a dependency to actually run our server. We need it to actually run. We're not testing something. It's not a build tool. We need it to actually run our server. To be able to do node server.js, we need Express.
So I will make a index or server.
Yeah, let's go server.js.
Yep.
So the first step in here is going to be to require in the Express module. We're then going to require in HTTP. We are then going to create an app module that's going to be equal to calling Express. So Express comes in as a function. We call Express to get it actually returns a function that is what we are eventually going to pass to our HTTP server. Follow that so far? These are Express internals that you probably don't need to know, but are good to know. So on app, we are given a series of functions that we can call. The one that you will probably use the most often is .get. So we can call app.get, and what we are going to pass to get is first a URL. So let's do /greeting. We'll show some of this homework. This is in the homework. We'll do one portion of it. Actually, this is different from it. I just remembered this is different from what's in there. So the second thing that we need to pass to get is this function that takes a request and a response. You need to close the function here. That's like this. I don't know why this doesn't. Let me get rid of this guy.
What? Oh.
Get rid of that guy. The closing parent, the extra closing. Oh, no, never mind.
No, that matches.
Yeah. So in here, we can do things just like we would with the with the HTTP module. So we can do a res.send, and we can send it a string. Now, the thing that gives you more functionality out of Express, because right now this looks almost exactly similar to what we could do with HTTP. You're probably sitting here wondering, why are we pulling in Express if it just does the same crap? The res stuff has automatically built into it a way that we can send JSON back to the user very easily with a res.json. So we'll make a data with a message of hello world. You need colon instead of equal. and no semicolon at the end.
Yep.
Because it's an object. Yeah.
Yep. Object later on. All right.
And so now we can, instead of doing a res.send hello world, we can do res.json data, and it will send this JSON object that we essentially made. Well, this JavaScript object that will automatically be translated by Express into JSON and sent out back to the response. So going past the GET request to actually getting our server running, we're going to create a server object just like we would with an HTTP-based server. And that's going to be equal to http.createServer. And if you remember in the Node beginner book, you're passing a function into here, and the function has recres, and that's where you actually define what happens inside of your functionality. We're just going to pass the Express app, because Express knows how to take care of that for us. And then it looks just like we listen to a port with HTTP. We do the var server.listen, and we pass it a port and a callback function.
What does that function take?
Nothing.
Yeah.
And we're just going to console.log so that we have some idea that our server is running. The other way that you'll see this happen is you'll actually see the function after the listen, because listen is actually going to be synchronous and blocking because we need to actually run the server. So once it starts, it'll execute the next line once it's fully started. So you will see, instead of having this as a callback, doing it afterwards. I think this is a little bit more explicit as to what exactly is going on. But that's my personal preference. Feel free to do what you want. But try my way first.
One of the dogs. All right, should we try it? Where am I? Users, I'm in dev express demo.
So yeah, if we run this server, we should get an output saying that the server has been started.
Port undefined. Oh, what did I miss here? Yeah. Oops. Okay, there we go. Oh, better launch Chrome since I'm actually doing development.
And if we go to localhost 3000/greeting,
All
we
right.
get a JSON object back that has message hello world. By the way, if you render JSON in the browser, this is what it looks like.
No, this is an extension I
This
got
is an
in the.
extension.
You can look
That's
at the
why.
raw, but the extension's actually really good in the Chrome Web Store, and it is just like there's a few of them. There's even ones for Safari, but it's basically just search for JSON formatter. Super handy to have around.
Yeah.
JSON view.
JSON view is another one of them. Yeah. Oh, well, that's taken a while, but anyway. Yeah. But yeah, it gives you little reveal triangles and gets helpful when the JSON's really big. Yeah, Mark.
So like on the Express website, or just kind of how I've been doing it, is a little bit different from your code. It uses, instead of the HTTP, it just uses app.listen.
On the getting started, with our current getting started. Yeah, we've been using Express for a while, so we might be doing it an old way. But like in their Hello World
Yeah,
example,
that might be in the new version.
Yeah, it's just app.listen. I don't know if that's.
it's basically calling the same thing under the hood.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it is more concise this way. This will work.
They don't even bring in an HTTP module for that.
No.
Yeah, it's probably a dependency.
Yeah.
I wonder when that changed.
Yeah, this is fine to do it their way, of course.
You can do it either way. They haven't sent a deprecation notice yet, so. All right, so if we go back to our code, we also have methods for doing other REST requests. So we can actually do a post. And let's do it to a /echo. We'll just echo this back. Trying to think. Do we actually want to do this? Do a body parser?
Oh,
Because we need that to be able to pull the body data.
yeah. Sure.
Yes, we should do this.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually need another piece to be able to actually parse the data coming in from the post request as JSON. There is a library that used to be part of Express, now is no longer. So this is something, if you see this being used in a tutorial, you have to remember that you actually have to install this separately. It is no longer a piece of Express. It's called body parser. It lets you parse the body of the request coming in. In our case, that's just going to be some JSON. So you have to npm install body parser. Once again, we want to - save this, because this is going to be required to actually run our server. Our server depends on this, so we need it as an actual dependency and not a dev dependency. And another gotcha is body dash parser. You will see it in a lot of places as just body parser by itself. Yeah, that's the other gotcha. So if we go back to our code, and we have to require a body parser. Because dashes aren't actually valid in variable names in JavaScript, we have to call it body parser without the dash. And so now we have to tell Express to actually use body parser. And this is what's called a middleware. It's really what's called a global middleware. It's going to be every single, so like we have here, we have this function. If we add a global middleware, what we're essentially telling Express to do is it has a specific function that we are going to call before it runs this function. So global middlewares will do it for absolutely every route. We could also do this on specific routes if we wanted to. That's not generally considered best practices for things like body parser. So what we're going to do is we're going to call app.use, and we are going to pass into it bodyparser.json, and we're actually going to call bodyparser.json, I believe.
Let's check the README. .json options.
Yeah, because that .json is not the actual function that gets called. It returns a function that gets used as middleware, and the bodyparser.json can actually take a series of options that you'll have to look up the docs to see if you need it.
There.
Most likely you will not.
So yeah, I'm just grabbing the example from the README.
So what we can now do, we can now actually create for our post a echo server. So what we're going to do is we're going to res.send, and the way that you access the data coming in is through the request. So we're going to do rec.body.message. So what we're essentially saying is on this echo request, we're expecting to get in a JSON object that contains a parameter called message that we are then just going to echo back to whoever makes that request. So we can test this on the command line with super agent CLI.
Like this?
Yep. This is a package that I made. It's specifically used for making, essentially for testing your development JSON based APIs. That's really all it's good for, is testing JSON APIs. It does everything else very, very poorly. But all the other tools do testing JSON APIs very, very poorly. So what we're going to do is we're going to type superagents post, or no, sorry, it's going to be, is it superagent? Yeah, it should be superagent. Yeah. So it's going to be superagent URL, which in our case is going to be localhost 3000 /echo. then a space, and post in all caps. We send the request number, and then we can pass it a JSON string formatted piece of JSON. So we have to do quotes. You should do single quotes because JSON expects it to be double inside. So opening bracket, quotes, double quotes, double quotes, message, colon, hello world is fine. And so, because it is a echo server, it just echoes back hello world.
Let's make it a something else.
Yeah, let's have it say message plus, or have it be echo colon message.
Embed, no.
Yeah.
Was what you said.
So we gotta wait for Nodebon to restart, and then it
yes.
echoes back, hello world was what you said.
Looks like I need a space there. Yep. There's actually a Mac app store thing called HTTP client that lets you do this in a GUI way, but it's really nice to be able to do on the command line too. And of course, we're going to be doing this from our tests as well.
And so there's one other bit about Express that you need to know, and that's how to send in variables into the actual URL, because we can actually do that. We can have variables in the URL. So we're going to do echo slash, no, we'll keep doing on the post.
Okay, we'll change this.
We're going to change the post a little bit. Actually,
Okay.
no.
Let's do a variable echo or something. Right?
What?
Like another route.
Okay.
I don't know. Shout.
And then we do a slash after shout. And we're going to do colon, and let's do a name. We'll have them send their name into the URL, and we'll shout at them. We'll shout their message back to them by name. So then it takes a function with recres, and we are going to res.send. And the way you access this parameter is with rec.params.thename. So in our case, because it is colon name, we're using .name. So it's colon, or whatever you name your variable up here, and the colon designates that it's going to be a variable. That's what you access, that's the parameter that you call on rec.params. Can you move that up a little bit?
Yeah.
So we have shout colon names, rec.params.name, and you can do as many of those as you want as far as the maximum URL length is, which I don't know off the top of my head.
Now we need just a upcase, right? What is it in JavaScript?
Yeah, it's upcase on, oh no, it's string.prototype.upper, I think.
Two uppercase.
Ah.
Yeah, two uppercase.
Cool.
Okay.
So we will send them their name in all caps, as well as the message that they sent.
Okay.
So we'll just do a plus and do a colon space.
Oh, a colon. Okay.
And then just rec.body.message. So if we change this URL instead of a post to echo, if we send a post to shout and then whatever name we want to use, it's going to return back to us Tyler in all caps and the message that we sent. Some other important things on the res, or really just one more that we'll do for now. Res.status lets you set the status code. You can only do that once for each response. That doesn't mean you can't have res.status, like you can't have it multiple places in the same function, but it can only be called once. So you have to have logic to make sure that it only gets called once. So for instance, if there's an error on the database, you might want to send res.status 500, but if everything's successful, you will do like a res.status 200, right? And the res.status is going to actually set the HTTP status code for the response going back to whoever made this request. And if you want to end the response prematurely, you can do res.end, but that one doesn't get used as often. Res.json and res.send will both actually end the response, usually. But it'll do it automatically, so you don't have to worry about it on its own.
Why is it outputting the little JSON object or whatever?
Yeah, so what's happening is because we're doing a res.send and not a res.json, what SuperAgent CLI will do is we'll send both the response and the JSON response. So it'll send the actual response that comes in as well as the body of the response that comes in, if that makes sense.
Let's see what HTTP client does.
If you add a -v flag to it, it'll actually also output the entire response, so all the headers and everything. So if you need to look at if you're having an issue and you can't figure out what it is, if you pass a -v flag to SuperAgent, it'll show you all of the headers, which is a lot of information. So, which is why it's not on by default. Any questions right now?
Are we going to be rebuilding this basically one of our assignments?
Yeah, pretty much. You'll be doing something very similar to it. In the simple JSON APIs, you'll be building a very simple JSON API. You have to, it has you greeting someone on a post request, possibly, and echoing the current time on a GET request.
Can you show your package.json?
Yeah, so the package.json file, once again, when you call --save on an npm install, will actually update your package.json file, which is how body parser and express got into there.
And just the way that I have my editor set up, it removes the quotes from each line, so it's a little confusing. But when I'm actually editing the line, the quotes are there. It's just easier to read for me without the quotes.
You want to show the massive output that is SuperAgent -v?
Mm-hmm.
Just add a -v flag. Should be able to add it anywhere.
Oh, okay. What happened?
Add it after the URL. Maybe I messed that up. That's a bug. Awesome. We just found a bug.
Wait,
It's a
did I
bug
mess
in
this up?
SuperAgent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just add it.
Expected token P.
So add it after the URL.
Oh, okay. File an issue for Tyler.
Yeah. Like after the URL, but before the post. Maybe I messed this up. Maybe you have to do.
Nope.
Huh. Do SuperAgent -h by itself.
Oh.
Maybe I'm forgetting how I actually use my own tool.
D.
D.
-d for detail.
Nope.
You have the you have the -v still.
Oh.
There.
Yeah, that
There
works.
you go.
Okay.
I want that to be -v. So it gives you, this is the entire HTTP header and response that you get back on a request. So you can see it has a lot of stuff in here. It has like the entire request that we're sending. It has the actual socket, a bunch of information about the actual socket in JavaScript, a bunch of different stuff in here. So if you're running into some issues that you just can't debug on a way that you're making a request, this is a way that you can get information about that. It's really helpful for working with APIs that you've never worked with before.
Is that the same thing you get by console logging the request or response?
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the-
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
How did you look at all that again?
It's minus D, or minus minus detail. So say you. Yeah, and if you look at the very bottom of that, you can see here your status code and status. I'm not sure what the difference between the two is. I think they're kind of exactly the same thing. You can see the type of response that we're getting back, text/HTML. You just get a lot of information with this. If you just want the raw data that's coming back, don't pass it the minus D flag. And once again, I didn't find, I built this tool because I couldn't find anything that could easily do this. Curl can do it, but you have to remember a long series of different flags and options to pass to curl that I just didn't feel like doing. I'm lazy, so I built a tool to do it instead.
So we will be using the SuperAgent REST library in both our tests and also our API
Do you want
assignment.
to make another issue saying that command line CLI interface is redundant?
Where? Oh, here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You won't be able to edit it.
Yeah,
But
I
you
think
can
I'm a
do pull
contributor.
request, right?
Oh, but it'll just automatically pull requests for
Yeah.
me.
Awesome.
Yeah, there you go. Create pull requests. Okay.
Any questions?